First thing that we wanted to speak about, well, not the first thing, but the topic of the video that we wanted to sort of speak about was advice for beginners for jiu-jitsu. And, you know, we wanted to go for a few tips that we had for white belts, potentially.
Yeah, well, I mean, it runs in well from what we've just been doing. We've just been training. Obviously, we're on the mats now from...
on the mats? Way.
from just teaching the beginners class. And obviously, like, out of the people that come to that class, we're the two most experienced ones generally on like a regular basis. So we are dealing with beginners a lot. I mean, in terms of advice, what I would give, generally, like, you'll find with like a lot of the new people that they kind of tend to overthink stuff a lot. And oh fuck this, I'm just fucking going on with myself.
It's fine, you can waffle.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just like, yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, I think they just need to chill. Like, that's the first tip that I'd give to anyone starting out jiu-jitsu is like relax. And you always find that when people start training, they use all the fucking strength. They're sweating when they're drilling, and they just need to relax and just chill. And, you know, don't feel like you need to be in a dominant position, because you're not going to be realistically until you're a good white belt. You need to get used to being in a defensive position.
You get that loads. Like, I find when I roll, especially with beginners, like they'll get disappointed if I get anything on them. But I need to like explain to them that like I've been training a lot longer than you, so you're not really going to have success against someone at first who's like infinitely more experienced than you. It's like me getting frustrated with rolling with a black belt. I know they're better than me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, one of the best bits of advice really that I could give, I remember us speaking about this quite a while ago, is when you learn a technique, you should really try and trial it on new people first. Then once you get used to getting it on, let's say you learn an armbar, for example, like a far side armbar from top side control. Work on it on people that don't know what they're doing to start with. And then once you get it on them consistently, that's when you can start working on it on people who are a bit more experienced, maybe more experienced white belts. Once you get it on them consistently, move up a belt, go to blue belt.
That's exactly what the guy said, wasn't it? Who was it who did that private for us?
It was Lee, wasn't it? Lee Herbert.
Yeah. Because he said we were doing opening the guard, weren't we? Opening the closed guard. And he said to us there, he was like, you know, you'll look at all your skills as specific to a belt. So it's like, if you're only being able to pull off opening closed guard against white belts, then you're a white belt at opening closed guard. But you could be a really good white belt, but you could have a purple level of opening closed guard. You know what I mean? Because you're trialing it on different people in the gym, and it's a good way to think, and it's a good way to sort of look at your rolling and actually have like a structure to your rolling as well. Because you can, instead of just being picked out, you can pick out your opponents based on what you want to practice.
Yeah, well, it's like when coaches always say like, do this drill now with 40% resistance, but like my 40% might be different to your 40%. Your 40% might be different to someone else's. Yeah. It's quite hard to quantify. And I suppose same could be said for saying blue belt level defense. I remember Lee, because Lee's a black belt. When we were drilling with him, he said, "I'll do it with white belt levels of defense now." And then he said, right, I'm going to do blue, then I'm going to do purple. And again, I suppose that's subjective as well, but it did help me kind of think about it. It kind of like I related to that more than saying 30, 40, 50%. Do you know what I mean?
I did remember him saying, I'll use white belt level of opening closed guard or as a white belt defense. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, what is going on here? This is shit. Yeah. It's like he's purposefully trying to be awful. And it's like, he is, obviously, because he's a black belt. So like to go back to being a white belt. But like, you know, I think not to shit on what he was saying, because that's, you know, that's not what I'm trying to say, but like, we need to give some credit to some white belts, because some white belts, you know, you got really good level in some white belts. Like white belts probably, from my experience, obviously I'm only a blue belt, but my experience, white belt is one of the biggest gaps in skill level.
At the end of the day, white belts is a funny one, because it's literally people coming in off the street who, like, some of them either have no experience, some of them might be like a 40-year-old dad with a family who's never trained a day in their life. But then maybe an Olympic athlete comes in maybe competed swimming their entire life, come in and they're just going to be naturally more athletic and better. I mean, learning's a skill in itself. If you've done sports before, you know, like me, I only ever really did combat sports, but luckily I do still tend to pick stuff up quite quickly. But I do notice when I'm coaching that like a lot of people, when they come in, you can tell when they've done sports before. I could tell with you, obviously. I knew you beforehand, before you were training, but like I could tell you'd played sports throughout your life, whereas like...
Jim.
I was about to say we've got one of our mates, so I'm going to out him.
Nah, let's out him. Fuck him. He'll be on the podcast at some
He'll be
point.
watching this. He'll be like, you bastards, outing me for this.
Well, no, he's trained for a year, and we spoke about it this morning, didn't we? Like, there's certain things that some people, if they just don't have athletic ability, and, you know, a part of it's problem solving as well. Like, you know, from me playing football or playing rugby or whatever sport that I've played in the past, there's always an element of problem solving in the process of learning. And if you've never been through that process before, coming to train at jiu-jitsu, you'll find that your progression will be so much slower.
Yeah, and like retention of information. Like I feel like, for example, if we rolled and you caught me in something, and then you said like, I don't know, let's say you got me in a Kimura, and I easily let you have my arm behind my back. And you told me to keep it on my waist next time and never let my hand go behind my back. I feel like I'd retain that information well. Obviously, I know I'm more experienced now. I'm a purple belt, so just to give you some context, it goes white, blue, purple, then brown, then black. People that don't know the belt levels.
You just said that.
No.
You said white, blue, purple, brown, black people.
No. So then people that don't know the belts, then they can have more awareness. You just didn't let me finish. Now you've thrown me. I forgot what I was saying.
I think you're talking shit anyway, to be honest.
All right.
But no, I mean, have you got? So I mean, let's say the first tip that we were going to talk about anyway, or the first point was, where you started fucking waffling on for ages, so I had to take over, and I said that they're a little bit spazzy sometimes.
Yeah.
Like white belts can be so spazzy.
Yeah, like just relax in positions at the end of the day. Like you've got to be aware that the people that you're going to be rolling against are going to be better than you. You don't show up on your first day of anything expecting to be the best. It's like, and also leading on from that, don't get frustrated when you get tapped. So like relax, but then don't get frustrated when you are losing in positions. You've got to work on getting comfortable in uncomfortable positions.
There was that young lad, I remember, he used to come to the beginner sessions, and I think it was a Friday evening, and he comes with that group of young lads, and he was getting proper fuming, and he rolled with me, he rolled with you, rolled with a couple of other guys, and he was fuming after getting tapped, and it's like, you've been 3 times. Like, how fuming would I be if you came after 3 times and started tapping me?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's, not to fucking blow smoke up my own ass, but I've been training for like 2.5 years, and I'm by no means amazing at jiu-jitsu, not even good at jiu-jitsu in the fucking grand scheme of things, but like, I shouldn't be getting tapped out by someone that's trained 3 times.
Yeah. And at the same time, we're not saying that, like, obviously you can get tapped by people who are less experienced than you. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's like you shouldn't be afraid to tap to people who are less experienced than you. But then at the same time, as I said before, you don't show up on day one of anything expecting to be the best. You need to practice. And as I said, when you learn the techniques, try and get them on people of your experience or lower. I know it's hard when you're a beginner. Obviously, there's not really anyone lower than your skill level. But then again, when we were talking about beginners before, they don't all come in at the same level. It's kind of like the perfect way of explaining that life's not fair. Everyone is not equal when it comes to physical attributes. Like, you look at Francis Ngannou, and then again, we'll dog on our mate Jim. Imagine them two on the first day of jiu-jitsu. I'd be putting all my money on Francis Ngannou to maul Jim with no experience, either of them.
Easy work.
Yeah. But
most people on the first day of jiu-jitsu would maul Jim.
I was about to say, I thought you were going to say most people get mauled by Francis Ngannou on the first day.
I'd beat him.
Josh has like I wouldn't say unhealthy, but I would say like a very optimistic view of your own confidence in terms of your ability, which is good. It's fantastic for competition. At the end of the day, the last competition you did, you double golded, didn't you? And
You didn't.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I got gold and silver.
Fucking bottled it on the last one.
Yeah.
You was battering him all the way through the match. You was on top. You was smashing him for points, and then you got caught with some horrible fucking, what was it called again? Can you remember the name of the submission?
He said it was a knee knot.
Knee knot.
But yeah, I'm not.
Never heard of it, mate.
No, I'd never heard of it either.
But it was weird, wasn't it? It was almost like, I'd say it was almost like an Ezekiel, but with a foot, like with the shin in on your neck.
We were in half guard. I was in top half guard, and he was like, I'm sure he was either choking me with his shin or his arm. I mean, you've been caught in something, you have no idea what's happened. It shows that I've got no idea what happened, considering I don't even know whether he was choking me with his leg or his arm.
Yeah.
That's probably not good on my part, because that was like 6 months ago now. I should have probably looked into that.
Fuck it, you'd be all right. So have you got any other tips for white belts? We've obviously spoke about not being a spazzy white belt. Anything else that...
I think a big factor is making sure that you're enjoying training. I remember when, I know it's quite generic, but I remember when I was a white belt, I remember all I used to do was put loads and loads of pressure on myself. I used to come in, and then all I used to think about was like, I wonder when I'll get my blue belt. Or like, when I was rolling and my coaches were watching, I used to be like, I can't get tapped by these white belts now because I need to show them I'm ready for my blue belt. Just relax, your coach is watching.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, if all your focus is on the belt, you don't magically get better when you get your belt. You get better, and then you're awarded your belt because you earned it. It's not magic. Blue belts get tapped by white belts. Purple belts get tapped by blue belts, and all the way up, going up to black belt, you can get tapped by lower belts. You don't get magic powers once you get a belt. Sometimes I do find that you get an increase in confidence when I've been promoted, and then it's like kind of stick my chest out a bit and get a bit more confident, and I do feel better.
Do you think it's an increase in confidence, or do you think it's an increase in pressure to not get tapped by low belts?
No, I don't think so.
Do you not think that's a...
I think sometimes when I'm first promoted, I am quite eager to compete. So then I will probably like up my training. Also, when you get a promotion, you kind of, I do feel like it spurs you on. I mean, it's extra motivation. It's like a little reward that makes you want to train a bit more. Because like a lot of people, I mean, not me, to be fair. I never found this, but I don't know about you, but like a lot of people, when they stagnate at one belt for a while, I think it's a lot of people that don't train too often, like maybe once or twice a week. They tend to stagnate. They call it the blue belt blues at blue belt, because they say blue belt's the most common belt where people quit. Yeah. I mean, aside from white belt, because I suppose loads of people come in and just never come back.
It's the belt, it's highest coloured belt. Yeah,
blue belt's 100% the highest coloured belt. But then I suppose you could argue like it's just white belt's the most common one for people to quit. Then blue, then purple, then brown, then black, because
it's logic, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's just there's nowhere near as many black belts.
It just takes longer.
Yeah, exactly. It's just harder to get there at the end of the day. There's less Premier League footballers than there are blooming Sunday League footballers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, how would you summarise that then? Would you just say that don't focus too much on belts, don't focus too much on stripes and belts and promotions, like just focus on being in the gym and improving? Yeah,
focus on improving to get your belt. Don't focus on being better once you've got it.
Yeah. And I mean, something that I made up like a little phrase, and it was focus training. So like my biggest period of improvement probably came, I'd say, between maybe December and maybe April this year, December and March this year, and at the end of that, or midway through, that's when I did my competitions. But I went for a phase of having a notes page on my phone and like watching, scrolling through Instagram, looking on YouTube at things that I wanted to improve on, or like techniques that I like the look of, or that had helped my sort of game or strengths or even my weaknesses to try and fix my weaknesses. And I'd make a notes page on my phone and I'd tick it off when I'd been able to do it in sessions. So in between rolls, I'd run over to my phone, I'd have a look and think, like, what do I need to work on this today before we start rolling? Or like I say, in between rolls. And I'd have like a YouTube link next to it or an Instagram Reels link next to the technique that I wanted to improve at. So I'd watch it for like 30 seconds. I'd be like, right, get that in my head. Right, let's go. And I'd go and find someone to roll with. And like I say, if it's a submission, I'd try and pick someone that's less experienced with me that I can practice submissions on. If it's if it's a defense, if you're a white belt and you're a beginner white belt, I'd always recommend learning defense first. Then learn things like retaining guard, learn things like escaping mount, your mount escapes, and let people get you in mount, and it's fine.
Even things as simple as just making sure that you're like constant with your frames from bottom, making sure people can't put the weight into you. That's massive, and it's something that you see so much with beginners, where as soon as someone gets on top of them, they hug them in.
Yeah.
Whereas you want to create space there, pretty much, unless you're going for something specific like a buggy choke, which definitely wouldn't recommend beginners focusing on that.
Yeah.
You need to focus on getting out of bad positions. But
yeah, there's definitely times when letting people past your guard is a good option because you maybe set something up. Like one of my favourites is if I've got a Kimura locked in when they're in half guard, and I'll sometimes let them pass the half guard and then sort of like rotate underneath them and get the sweep. So there's sometimes it's a good idea to let them pass, but only when you've got something sort of locked away that you're going to use on them.
Stuff I'd say as well that's a bit more, it's not really for the benefit of the person training, but just not to be a bit of a blooming twat, to be honest. You should never be the person that makes excuses once they get tapped. You should never be when you get tapped, you should never be like, oh, it was a bit of a crank, that. Because at the end of the day, in a real fight, like, right, I'd have broke your neck. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's uncomfortable, just tap. Like, it's on you. It's almost entirely on you in those positions where, yeah, you might not want... Ideally, we're not going to try and crank on each other's necks in training. But at the same time, like, it's on you to keep yourself safe and tap early.
Yeah.
And also the people I hate. Oh, God. Have you had it where you get someone in a submission or, like, you're going for a certain technique and then they'll stop you and say, like, oh, well, what you need to do here is you just need to...
The coaches.
Oh, God. Yeah, the coaches are the worst. They're horrific. All they do is, like, you'll, like, walk their arms up, you'll get, like, an arm triangle locked in, and you'll just be about to finish it, and they'd say, like, make sure you drop your weight down, mate, and then you'll get the finish there. Yeah, well done. And then they'll take credit for your finish. And it's like, mate, I was battering you. What are you doing?
I've got to say, I've never had that.
Have you not?
No, it's probably because most time in mount I've got my tits in someone's face. I've like the newfound mother's milk, and I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, we love mother's milks in this gym. That's it's been popularised by Mr. Jackson, sat to my right.
Love it.
Our mate Frank as well. Frank likes a mother's milk, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I enjoy them as well. I don't go for them as much anymore, but I do like a mother's milk.
What's your favourite submission?
Well, I mean, you asked me this 6 months ago, I'd have a completely different answer to what I would say now, and 6 months previous to that. Like, I've go through stages of liking different submissions. Like, there's been a stage where Darce has been my favourite submission, Darce chokes. Then arm bars, there was a long stage where I loved arm bars. Triangles for the longest time as a white belt. I've come back to triangles recently. But to be honest with you, I like having a wide range of options from every position, really. To be honest with you, I wouldn't give you a specific submission, but I would say chokes are my preference.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Chokes, I would prefer a choke to an arm submission, although I do like an arm bar. Leg locks are okay as well, but I love arm bars from top positions, so like from top pins. I've never been a fan of arm bars from like close guard.
Yeah.
I've always liked them from like side control or mount, where we can walk the arms up high. I
struggle with that as well. From if someone's in my close guard, I struggle with that. And it's like when we were in Spain, Vlad, Vlad armbarred me. Vlad's fucking unbelievable, and he armbarred me within 3 seconds. It literally was a case of I was in his close guard, and then next thing I know, I was tapping out because I was in an armbar, and he did that 7 times in one round, just the armbar. Probably tapped me another 4 times doing something else. But what was he at the time? Blue belt, purple belt?
Yeah, and that's another thing that will go back to what we were saying before. Like, I bet he's tapping black belts all the time.
Easy.
I mean, he submitted me 9 times in one round.
Yeah, and you was a good blue belt at that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was just over a year ago, wasn't it? And I got my purple belt probably about 8-9 months after that.
Yeah. Did he win Euros?
I don't think he won Euro. I don't know if he did Euros. I can't remember. He's won a lot of competitions in Spain. To be honest, I haven't really looked recently, but I know all those guys at Mano a Mano are cleaning up really on the competition scene.
High class.
Yeah, like Yuri, he's won like countless competitions. I think he's won Euros, Masters Euros, but yeah, that's a black belt as well. Anyway, going back to what you said before, what's your favourite submission?
See, when you was talking about it, I was having an argument in my own head of either a Kimura or like a rear naked choke. I do like taking people's backs, but I find rear naked chokes at the minute, I find them too quiet, frustrating. I think it's probably an element of it is because in training I don't want to be a dick. Like if I was going to be a dick in a comp and I had someone's back, I wouldn't care about scraping along the face, trying and get under the chin. Whereas in training, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be like technical and methodical with sorting the.
Yet your mother's milk beginners.
Yeah, that's all right. I do it in a nice way.
Yeah, you don't crush their nose.
No, I don't. Yeah. All I try and do. So I've said to you, like I've got a little technique for mother's milk, which is which definitely increases your percentage of pulling it off, and it's getting under with one arm, but then putting your hand on the cheek of the other arm and forcing the face almost straight up. Whereas I think we've said before where like you can walk both arms up and hug them, and their arms sort of do that as well.
That tends to be the way I finish it.
Yeah, but to stop needing to walk both arms up, if you get one up, which stops them moving one way, and then you just plant your face there, and then I usually use like my pec. Mm-hmm. I like one tit rather than going in the middle, and I like sort of like put my shoulder in the face. I fucking love it.
No, to be fair, I only walk one arm up as well. I don't walk 2 up. But I don't use my arm like
get that fucking hand involved.
I do wrap them like that. But yeah, I don't. I have used it once and it did work. To be fair,
yeah, it's
after
great.
You mentioned it.
It's great. But I mean, people now like Dave, for example. Dave hunts me down with mother's milks now. Like every time me and Dave rolls, if he's in a position, if I not let him have mount, but obviously I'll let people work. And Dave's one of them where if he's on top of me in mount, like I can't get him off. He's difficult to get off. I need to sort of wait for him to commit to something else to be able to sort of like get him off me. But like people hunt for me now. Yeah,
well, I mean he's strong, Dave, and he's been training about a year, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he started in these beginners classes that we do.
It's good to see. Like it's good to see us when we go through the same syllabus over and over again. Like we do an 8-week syllabus, don't we, in the beginners classes. And it's good to see the improvement of the people and revisiting the same topic over and over again, and like them remembering it, and then we use it in rolling and things, and it's nice to see.
Well, it's like today. Like I'm pretty sure everyone that was in today has already done one rotation of the beginners course. So then we were going from dogfight and going for like knee taps and roll throughs from being on the knees. And we've done that quite a few times now. So then we looked at a different option of taking the back. I was going to try and show a triangle from that position as well, but we didn't have time. But it's good that like going through that same syllabus over and over again, where people like get used to it, understand the techniques more. Then we can like build upon it, show them different techniques, show them new stuff. And not only does it improve the sessions for everyone, but it improves my coaching as well.
Yeah. Because like you say, if you get to revisit the same topic over and over again, then we can try. I mean, talk about that new style of coaching that you've been trying. What was it called?
Ecological approach. I haven't done a session on it for a while. So there's a guy called Greg Souders who does the ecological approach. I think he's in Washington. It's a standard jiu-jitsu, and it's basically constraints-led training. So you'll never do like static drilling. So the stuff we were just talking about, you'd never really just do normal drilling, which is like the majority of what jiu-jitsu classes are built upon these days, really. So it'd all be like constraints-based games. So it'd be stuff like if we get to like a leg entanglement position, my goal would be to just keep you controlled with the leg entanglements, but I wouldn't be able to finish the submission. And your goal would be to do something specific, not necessarily just get out, but maybe strip the controls of like my legs and then try and like hop your hips over. So like, do you know, like very specific defenses, very specific goals for each of us, but then no real instruction. You kind of figure it out yourself. The coach can give like little tips as we go through, but you try and stay away from giving like too much information, because we want to try and let people figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, it's like problem solving. And I think when you're rolling, like, it's nothing ever works, and you know, beginners say it and they've got a point, to be fair, and it's like, oh well, this won't work if I was putting in resistance, or like giving you back resistance. And it is true to an extent. Like, a lot of things don't work that well if someone's like trying as hard not to let's say it's like a trap and roll, and it's like, oh yeah, but that won't work if I was trying not to let you trap my arm, and it's like, yeah, it's true, but then I've got other things that I'm chaining along to that. So if you do stop me doing a trap and roll, and I've got like an elbow knee escape, or...
And also, like, it's all right saying that the first time you ever did it. Like, I've seen it before where there's two beginners. We were doing Kimura grip breaks once, and someone was holding onto a Kimura dead tight, and he said, oh, I can't break my grip. And it's like, well, first off, he outweighed the person, and he was gripping up as hard as he can, and it was the first time the other guy had learned that grip break. So it's just kind of unfair to do that. Imagine your first driving lesson. Your driving instructor says, like, right, you've never been in a car before, but what we're going to do is we're going to take you on the motorway, and you're going to be driving 70 miles an hour down the motorway. You'd probably bottle it, wouldn't you? It's, I just think, obviously, you learn stuff slowly first with no resistance, to then make sure that you're doing the techniques properly. Then you can pressure test them. Like we said before about kind of building up through more experienced people once you get a hang of techniques.
Yeah, it becomes like muscle memory, doesn't it? And I think that's what drilling's good for, is if you do the same technique over and over and over and over again, you can start off slow. You can then start slowly increasing the intensity, and if you've got a partner that knows what they're doing as well, they can give you a little bit more resistance, and then you're building up that muscle memory to know what to do when you're in that situation when you're rolling. But that constraints-led approach, it's very much encourages people to problem solve. And I think just to shit on Jim again for the sake of it, like, there's some people that just can't problem solve, and you get them in a position, like we were in a position before. We were doing obviously we were doing the half guard kicking up to dogfight, and then obviously the guy that's been on top will need to get the whizzer to stop the other guy taking the back. And I said to Jim, I said, well, what's stopping me taking your back now? And I try and like promote that problem solving in him, and he's like, just couldn't figure it out.
Well, I do it in classes a lot, where when we're drilling, generally you're my drilling partner, aren't you? That's who I show the techniques on. And I'll do it quite a lot, where, more so with the kids' classes, but I do it occasionally with the adults, where I'll get to a position and I'll ask the class what they think the next step is, or what they could do, because a lot of the time there is multiple options, like you were saying before, and it's just to get different perspectives to see what you could do as well. And there has been times where I've asked that question and I've learned something. Maybe someone's brought something up where I've not realised that's an option, even with less experienced people. Like, just getting a few different like takes on the position, what other people are seeing.
But then you can also you can lead your session down whichever route it goes. Like, let's say we're learning half guard today. We can get you in a knee shield and just be like, you can say to the class, like, right, what should we do? Guy on the bottom, what we're doing. Let them sort of direct the class. And I think it's similar to the way I sort of teach. Obviously, I've taught lifeguarding and I teach some like basic life support and things now as well. But like when I teach that, it's like I think when you ask questions like that, it gets people engaged and it makes people thinking, oh, fuck, I don't want him to ask me a question. So it makes them listen. Whereas if you just go in for a technique, I'm the biggest culprit of this, I'll be thinking about fucking everything but what's going on the mats.
I always think about what I'm going to have to eat after class.
Yeah. And then me and you will end up partnering up after fucking someone's demonstrated a technique. Like, fucking hell, what are we doing?
I'm a hypocrite for this because I'll have a go at kids for not listening to me, and then I'll go into the class, like the gi class later on, and then I'll be watching and I'll listen. I always want them to demonstrate it 3 times because I always think in my head, right, the first time I'll listen to the first part of the technique. The second time I'll listen to the second part of the technique. And the third time I always think about...
Food.
No, I'm thinking about food the entire time. But the third time I always just try and pick up the bits that I've missed out.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I do struggle and then just start thinking about food.
It's difficult. No, it's difficult to retain, especially, and it sort of goes on slightly to the length of sessions, and I prefer these beginner sessions, obviously because you're the teacher and you're the best teacher ever. But you
Cheers,
know,
mate.
the second reason is because it's half an hour for drilling, and I think an hour drilling is far too long. Like for me, and you know, I'm one of these undiagnosed ADHD kind of people that just I can't concentrate on one thing for very long at all. Like I need to be moving at a quick pace. I need to be learning new things. I need to be like changing it up. And drilling a technique for an hour is it's dire. And it's like, it's so boring. And I know that other people have the same opinion as well. And I know you can change it up and I know you can progress the technique and stuff, but if you're progressing a technique and you've done the first section of that technique for 15 minutes, and then you look around the mats and everyone's fucking sat around chatting like this. 10 minutes in, everyone's sat around, they're not drilling, and they should be. They would get better if they did drill. But there's other ways, there's other approaches. Doing like live rounds and like making it so it's like, right, we're all gonna have, I think you've done it a couple of times where it's like, is it 2-minute rounds, 2.5-minute rounds, 30 seconds rest or something like that?
Yeah, we were doing that last night.
And stuff like that it gets you in the position, gets you into like a realistic situation, but then you're moving on from it quick and you're changing partners and you're testing it with different strengths, different abilities, and you're still thinking, I need to escape side control or whatever we're doing, but it's different. And like I say, you're using different opponents, different abilities, and it gives you a better opportunity to learn rather than just sort of sitting on your ass and just having 4 goes each, 2 for 2, couple of goes each, and then thinking, fucking hell, I'm bored now.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't come into training expecting every single person to drill constantly for the entire time there and not talk. Because to be honest with you, that'd be painful. I wouldn't want to train like that.
No.
At the end of the day, not everyone's goal is to be Gordon Ryan, or any of the best guys in the world, really. But that's the type of commitment you need to get to that level. A lot of people come in just because it's their thing. There's so many people, like Dave, we were just talking about, he trains once or twice a week. He doesn't want to be constantly and to be fair, he does drill well. He's not one of them that I do see sitting on the side of the mats, but I think that might have a factor that he's in my sessions where we only do half an hour drilling, as you said. I much prefer that. I did that intentionally. When it comes to teaching sessions, I do try and do half an hour drilling, half an hour rolling, just because I think it's snappier, keeps people engaged a bit more. That's if we're doing drilling. If we were going to do something like the ecological approach, I'd make sure to spread it out a bit differently. But definitely drilling, I think 45 minutes is an absolute maximum for drilling for me personally.
Yeah, I think 45 minutes might even be the sweet spot for it, because I do feel like sometimes, like this morning, we didn't do the triangle. We didn't get a chance to progress onto that technique. But then there's some techniques that people don't get, and I feel like they could have a little bit longer, but then just keep coming, because this syllabus repeats every 8 weeks, like we say, and they'll get a chance to do it again, and they can practice it in rolling. And there's definitely an element in jiu-jitsu and of improving, of like self-directed study, and people need to go home, watch YouTube. Let's say you've been caught with 4 guillotines in a rolling session. You need to go home and look at how to stop being caught in guillotines.
Yeah. Do you know Craig Jones?
No. Yeah, I do know.
He actually, it's to your point, he said whenever he catches someone in submissions, so like let's say he does catch someone in a guillotine, when they get home, he sends them guillotine defense videos, like to take the piss. But like it
probably works.
It probably well, maybe not on it, maybe not on him. He probably bloody guillotines everyone.
Do whatever he wants.
I mean, he is good. To be fair, I mean, he beat up Gabby Garcia easy enough, didn't he?
Yeah, big girl there. It's fucking well funny when he chucked her hair over her face.
I know, yeah.
What do you think about CJI? I mean, just obviously it leads on quite nicely, but I think that event as a main event, we've spoke about this before, but I didn't really like how they gave. What's his coach called again? Was it his coach or her coach?
I mean, it was his coach. He is like a jiu-jitsu meme. He wasn't his actual coach. He's called Renato Laranja.
But then to give him a microphone,
I think it was a bit much.
And then it like spoke over the top of the commentators as well, and you couldn't really hear the commentary. He was saying stuff, and it was like, come on, like.
It'd have been funny if they didn't give him a microphone and you could just about hear him every now and again come out with something. Yeah. But it was almost like, because they gave him a microphone, I could kind of tell that he felt like he had to say something, as opposed to saying stuff that he thought was just going to be funny when it came to him.
That's it. It's like, there you go. You've got a job to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And he's like, oh, fucking hell, I can't be quiet now.
And he is funny, but I just don't think that was the correct use of him, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think he was funny on the, do you know the face-to-face interview they did when he was like moderating it? He was funny on that.
Yeah.
But the only thing is with having him, he demands a lot of attention, and I feel like the attention should have always been all on Craig and Gabby. Because to be honest with you, as much as I do find him funny, I think Craig's funnier.
Yeah. I
think Craig is really funny.
What do you think of the actual event as a whole and comparing it to ADCC? And
I think CJI is probably the single best jiu-jitsu event that's ever been put on.
Yeah.
ADCC is obviously the most renowned one, the most well-known one for the longest period. CJI has only ever had one event now. But ADCC, I think 2022 ADCC was better than this year's, was better than 2024's. Because obviously, I mean, the talent was watered down, although there was still some great matches on it. But I think the biggest factor for me was at CJI, there's only ever one match going on, so the whole audience's attention is on that one match. Whereas at ADCC, there's 3 mats. So someone's walking onto the mats on one mat, loads of people are watching that one. Someone's getting finished on the other side of the mats, and then another one, some people are just having a boring wrestling match on the feet. So like people's excitement in the crowd is all kind of weird. It's got one section might be excited, one might not be, they might be bored, and then they're missing something that's going on elsewhere. But CJI, everyone was in sync because everyone was watching the same thing. I think it will have, I mean, I wasn't there, but it looked like it created a better atmosphere.
Well, it will do, like, just by, not definition isn't the word, but that Cade Rotolo match is like, that's like arguably one of the best jiu-jitsu matchups ever.
It's the best one I've seen.
Yeah.
I'd say so. But I think as well, massive factor, especially for that match. If that match was at ADCC, that wouldn't have been half as exciting because I'm not biased towards CJI, but the angled wall contained them.
Yeah, it was sick, that.
Yeah, because there was points where there was like 3 or 4 submission attempts when they were next to the wall, whereas in ADCC, they'd have been stopped by the ref and recentered, and it had kept breaking up the action. So I think it was kind of a perfect storm of having, I mean, first and foremost, all credit goes to both those 2 athletes. Like, they brought it and they were exciting. I think it would have been an exciting match if no matter what surface they were on, but I think the angled wall just helped it that little bit to keep the action going.
It was good to watch the fighters as well, to see how they used it, and like, you know, I think, I can't remember who it was that Nicky Rod was against, but I think it was the other guy's coach was saying, "Oh, push him against the wall," and he was like using it it's almost using it as a takedown, like, because it's like the block blocks the feet, doesn't it? You drive someone into the wall and they sort of trip over it and fall against the.
Yeah, well, that's what Craig was saying. He said they wanted a surface that rewards action because at the end of the day, if you back up and let someone push yourself into that wall, you're giving them a takedown, really.
That's it.
I mean, if you look at it like one championship, they do grappling matches in the cage. It's who Mikey Musumeci's signed for, and Cade Rutolo. I'm pretty sure Ty as well. They compete for them a lot, but they're in a cage, and a flat surface against the wall, it actually aids people being able to stay on the feet or stand up. So that angled wall's perfect because I think it rewards people getting a bit creative with like submissions and stuff as well on it. I think it's a perfect surface for grappling, although apparently it is quite difficult to set up. So I'm not expecting smaller events to have it on all the time, but I definitely for like the biggest shows like Who's Number One Championship, ADCC. Maybe next ADCC we'll see an angled wall.
Mate, I don't think it'd be that difficult. You won't see it in ADCC. They won't fucking copy CJI.
No,
not a chance.
It's the spiteful, aren't they?
Not a chance will they do the same as CJI in anything.
No.
But I don't think it'd be that difficult to set up. Like, I really don't. Like, I think it'd be difficult to build it down. So, like, if you was to come into this gym and build it, like lower the floor, it would be really difficult.
So that's an interesting concept. I think that's the way to go. What CJI did, apparently they raised the floor. It was for the spectators because otherwise no one would be able to see.
Yeah.
It's what have you seen Karate Combat?
Yes.
They're the guys that kind of popularized it to begin with, and it's actually the reason why Craig made it in CJI, because Craig competed on Karate Combat, not in a striking match because they started doing grappling matches, and Craig actually submitted someone off the wall with a triangle.
Yeah.
And he said he really liked it, so I think that's what gave him the idea to put it into CJI. And I think it works so much better than just flat mats.
No, I agree. Moving on from that not briefly, probably for good. We've got 2 tips, haven't we, for white belts so far? I think we should come up with a third one. So the first one was to not be spazzy.
Yep.
The first one, sorry, was to not be spazzy. The second one was to not focus on belts and just focus on improving. What would you say? Have you got any more tips?
We did say relax, didn't we, as well? Relax and make sure you're comfortable in uncomfortable positions. They were... But I think we can get another one out there, can't we?
Using strength?
Strength...
Would you say that comes down to not being spazzy?
I would say so, but I think it is a good point because I think there's a bit more depth to this question than people really realise. Like, with strength, a lot of people, as you said before, people like muscle things and say like, well, this technique doesn't work because I can just power out of it.
Yeah.
But you're not always going to be against people who you're stronger than.
Yeah.
So it is important to know that. But then at the same time, I think it's more important to know when to use your strength as opposed to not use it at all, because at the end of the day, it does play a factor. As we were saying, athleticism plays a factor before.
I was literally going to say the exact same thing as what you just said there in terms of knowing when to use your strength. And again, for the maybe the 5th time now, I'm going to shit on Jim again. Like, Jim will roll and sweat while he's rolling. Not roll, sorry, drill.
He's taking some flack, Jim, today.
He is. He probably will in future episodes as well. He takes flack all the time, doesn't he? He's used to it now. But yeah, you'll drill with Jim, and you'll drill something like mount escapes, and it'll be like a dead relaxed drill. And it'll be like this. Fucking grunting in your ear, gripping on for dear life. And it's like, fucking relax.
I could shut my eyes and not know who's in the training room and know Jim's in the room, just based upon what noises are coming.
He does.
I was saying it last night, actually. Tom, do you know new Tom, who's from Gloucester, who we spoke to before? He makes noises. Well, he doesn't shut up talking when you roll with him,
no,
to be
fair.
Does he? But he chats away and then he makes noises as well when people put him in bad positions, does stuff similar to Jim. Them two, I would say, are the 2 loudest rolls in the gym when it comes to like showing discomfort.
Talking of Tom, you got video footage of me mother's milking him and then releasing the mother's milk so he could breathe and then mother's milking him again. And I did that for about a minute. He was like, oh, fucking hell, what are you doing?
It's like getting dunked underwater and then brought back up.
Oh, there's a movie where that happens. This happens in loads of movies, doesn't it, where they torture people.
Took a turn.
It did, didn't it?
It's like getting waterboarded, essentially. Depending on how sweaty the person is whose mother's milking you, then like you're essentially getting waterboarded with that person's sweat.
Would you rather get mother's milked with someone with a sweaty rash guard or someone with a sweaty with no top on?
I'd rather have the rash guard. Do you know, like, imagine someone's proper airy chest and imagine like the skin.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the defining factor will be whether they've got a hairy chest or not.
Do you?
Yeah. If they haven't got a hairy chest, I won't be that bothered about about.
You could pretend it's a woman.
Yeah, close my eyes.
No, I think it'd be unsettling if they didn't have an hairy chest. I think it'd be like a slug.
Oh, you would be pretending it was a woman and be enjoying it a little bit too much.
No. What I'm
This
saying
is unsettling. I've got a big burly bloke on me in it, and I'm slightly hard.
No, what I'm saying is, if someone was like topless on me with their chest in my face and they were all slippery, it'd feel like there was like a massive slug on me or something. It'd be grim.
Yeah. In jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I should
a
be
male
used
in
to it.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so what are we saying for the third one, the third tip then? Do we say knowing when to use strength?
Knowing when to use strength.
And I think to summarise what we were saying before as well, like just to so we've got them 3 tips there, and then I think the bonus tip is focus training. And I like
training.
that phrase needs to be fucking written on a wall somewhere, because it's so true. And like I say, and like that's when I had my biggest spike in performance and improvement, was when I was going home and I was thinking, fucking hell, I did shit today. I got caught with this, and this. YouTube videos, learning that fucking back take from John Danaher. The John Danaher, it wasn't the back take, it's back control from the John Danaher fucking instructional. Yeah. That helped me so much. And I watched an hour of it, and I use it all still to this day.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that I learned from instructionals and YouTube that I use in my game to this day, that like in classes I don't use all the stuff that I learn. This is another tip actually. In classes, make sure you do listen to everything, you take everything in, but realise that not everything's gonna be for you. Yeah, it's like the old Bruce Lee quote. It's like take what's useful, discard what's not, basically. And it doesn't mean what he was referring to was from different martial arts, where like, you know, if we're doing it for self-defense, really, like we want to make sure that we've got a good top game and stuff. I'm not going to be pulling guard on the streets, basically, because he did it all for self-defense, Bruce Lee. But make sure that you're obviously applying it to your game, your attributes and stuff. And if there's stuff that you haven't got a feel for, you still need to learn the techniques, because I remember when I was a white belt, I didn't have a good feel for arm bars at all. I did not like them at all. And then when I became a blue belt, I really ended up liking them. And it's just something that I kept in my back pocket for a rainy day, and then ended up using them, and used that same concept of trying it on newer people and then building up the skill level. And it ended up being one of my favourite techniques.
I mean, for me, like now, like I don't like triangles, and I find triangles really difficult to lock up in most situations against most opponents, because my legs aren't long legs. I've got quite short, fucking fat, stubby legs. So like I struggle to get my foot behind my knee and like lock up the triangle. I can still sort of get things from like a top lock position if I use my hand and get my hand in there and try and block the little.
I was talking to Deck Williams at Stealth actually probably about 9 months ago now, and I remember him saying, like, because he's shorter and he's got shorter legs, and he was saying, like, because he triangled me, he's a brown belt, and he said I've always liked triangles, even though a lot of people say you need longer legs to really make them your own, because you've got to realise, like, although they might be harder to get, but when you get them, they're tight.
Oh yeah.
Because you've got shorter legs, there's nowhere near as much room.
Same with body locks. I got one of the guys in a body lock a couple of weeks ago. Not a body lock, fucking body triangle. And you know, I had someone's back, and they're quite thin anyway. And I managed to get a fucking body triangle. And after the roll, he was like, I actually thought I was going to throw up when you're on that body triangle. I'm like, I'm not fucking surprised. Like, it feels tight on my legs. And body triangles are fucking horrible.
They are grim, yeah. The people can tap to that. I've seen people tap to them in the past.
I think I've tapped to a body triangle when I was a white belt.
If people squeeze the life out of your ribs, it's not nice. No. I mean, people can get injured by it. I remember...
You've injured multiple beginners here.
Me?
Nish
was being a wet wipe.
Luke. Did you injure Luke?
Luke
Williams?
No.
Did you not?
No, I didn't injure
Sure you hurt his ribs.
You injured me?
Yeah, cause we were saying before, rewind the tapes, you were saying before that you need to know when to tap.
Yeah, true.
Hypocrite.
No, I don't injure beginners. That's the...
No, it's because you're just a fucking lump.
Yeah, I'm 100 kg. And when you get people who aren't used to grappling, aren't used to feeling pressure through them, like people do kind of... I think they don't realise how much pressure you can actually put into them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's like certain ways to breathe and certain ways to shift your body weight, or like how to actually cope with that pressure being put through you. And if you don't know, then maybe that's why. I mean, I think a big part of it is they just don't want to train.
Yeah.
Injury's an excuse.
Well, that's what I said. They were being wet wipes.
Yeah. Like, there's so many times where it's probably a bit different for you at the minute. I think when you've got an injury to like your knee or something, don't get me wrong, injury to your ribs, definitely legit.
Oh yeah.
But if you're just going, oh, I've got sore ribs, you're fine. Fucking crack on.
There's a difference between...
That's another bonus tip. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all
I
right.
have to get it out. Bonus tip is that when you start jiu-jitsu, you'll quickly learn that you probably, for the first year of training, you'll be carrying some form of injury or knock for the whole year of training, and you just have to stop being a pussy and just get on with it.
Your body does toughen up.
Yes, it does.
There's a big difference between getting hurt and being injured. Like, you can hurt yourself a bit, get a black eye, you can get turf toe, go over on your foot, go over on your ankle. But like tearing ligaments and tearing muscles, that's a different ball game. That's when you do need to take some time out. We've actually got quite a lot of people in the gym at the minute with knee issues.
Yeah.
But like, you're gonna get knocks. Like, you get as I said, like, your body does toughen up. I remember when we first started training, when we tried MMA out at 12 gauge. Do you remember us sitting in the car afterwards and we were just both stood, like, sat there stiff, like, oh.
Why do we hurt so much?
Yeah, I remember my back and neck was like so stiff.
I remember my feet, funnily enough, like running around the mats every session. I remember my feet just like tearing apart, like underneath. They weren't exactly blisters, but my toes were all cut from where I was like running on the mats barefoot, because that's something that you're not used to. So it's even little things like that. And I remember when we first started training here at Hybrid, and I said to you, because I'd not really trained jiu-jitsu properly before until training here. But when I first started training here, I remember saying to you, like, is it normal for me to be this bruised? I remember taking my top off and looking at myself in the mirror, and I had bruises everywhere, all over my chest, all over my back. And it's like you just somehow your body just stops bruising.
I mean, you say that, but our mate Dan Winterbottom, he
gets loads.
He still gets covered in bruises.
Yeah.
I think I've always been alright because I started kickboxing, so my, like, especially with my shins and stuff, and like my arms, I've never really bruised too badly. Like, sometimes I'll get some bruises on my face or like around my torso.
You still got a black eye?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was bizarre how that happened.
I know. Do you want to tell the story of that? How that happened quickly before we wrap it up?
Yeah. So that happened. Talking to Dan, it was actually Dan who did it. But it was not. It wasn't his fault. We were drilling like some DARS defenses, and we were seeing if like putting my arm at a certain angle would take the pressure off. It did, thankfully, and I could get the escape. But I started seeing stars after it because it was on tight. And for whatever reason, the pressure must have built up in my head. I felt like loads of blood rushed to my head. And then my eye just swelled up. Like, really, like, not loads. I didn't look like Rocky or anything. But like my bottom eyelid had swelled up. And then I remember, like, literally 5 minutes after it happened, because I know they say not to blow your nose. If you've got like a broken nose, don't blow your nose, because then your eyes swell up. That's what happens a lot in fights. But I ended up blowing my nose because my nose is messed up, and Josh knows I carry tissues with me everywhere.
Comes in handy, I must say.
They do come in handy. That sounds weird, that.
Does it?
A bit weird.
Well, if you need an emergency shit on a night out, it comes in handy.
Yeah.
I'll clear things up.
Yeah, we'll clear things up. But I blew my nose, and then it went down. It was really bizarre. Like, my eye just stopped being swollen. But it gave me a black eye. But that's the story behind it. Not that tantalising, to be honest.
Well, I think that's it for episode 1. I don't know how long we've been going for. You can probably see the clock.
Longer than you'd expect, I'd say.
50 minutes?
I know, I'd probably say about that,
Yeah, 50 minutes. Sweet. Do you wanna say thanks?
Thank you.
No, thanks for watching. Obviously, we'll be doing more of these, and you'll probably do the outros in the future. But yeah, if everyone just likes the video and subscribes if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.